Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel, and this is my take, kind of a live events opinion, and Nitro's take on Wrestlemania 35. It took place on April 7, 2019 from Metlife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and I was fortunate to have traveled there to see the card live and in person, and here are my thoughts on not basically everything and anything that happened there, but just the big stories coming out of that card. First off, the venue and the experience itself. It was kind of like that stadium is out in the middle of nowhere a little bit. It's in the sticks outside of New York. You have to go to Penn Station and then jump on the New Jersey Transit line, run from there to Secaucus, and then Secaucus has a special line that goes to MetLife Stadium during events. So there you go. Apparently there was issues with moving people after the event because WWE gave New Jersey Transit a bonk end time of 10:30 p.m. instead of the 12:30 that it did end Eastern, and a lot of that had to do with like unions and stuff like that and people hanging out extra. New Jersey Transit should have done their homework on that. I don't think that they should have shortchanged the fans like that, especially out in the rain. But, you know, that's one of the deals with going to WrestleMania, is that's one of the uncontrollable conditions. I think that everybody was kind of planning on that stuff. I think they were planning on more people actually driving in for this thing and you know, using their own vehicles for it and that stuff than it already did. But mind you, with the amount of travel packages they sold for this thing and that stuff, he kind of would figure that they would have the foresight to leave the trains open. But I got home no problem, got back to the hotel room no problem, got back to the hotel room at about 1:30 or so. This review was supposed to be shot in the hotel room. Unfortunately, between the extra events that I had to go attend and check out, Raw and SmackDown, and packing for leaving back here, and then of course travel, we don't get the funky Times Square view on the review. But we're back at Nitromaniac HQ, and here we go. We're just going to dissect not everything that happened on the card, but some of the main stories, and definitely talk about the matches and what I thought of. So pre-show had 4 matches. So the 4 matches on the pre-show opened up with the Cruiserweight title to open festivities in MetLife Stadium. Getting to my seat at MetLife Stadium too was a bit of a story too, because they didn't have floor access to MetLife Stadium. So what they did was they sent us around to like where the Giants VIP office was. There was a group of about 20 of us, and then somebody from security escorted us through the dressing room out and into the floors. So it's kind of weird just walking by and seeing Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles just chilling out and just waving, "Hey guys, how's it going?" You know, it's the thing that was happening all day. So you know, hey, I've been backstage at a WrestleMania inadvertently. Look at that. Go team, I guess. The opening contest, Tony Nese versus Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight Championship. This match was really good. It paled to comparison, though, to the match that they would have 2 nights later on 205 Live. More on that match later, as it has made my top 5 matches of the weekend list, and I'll be putting a video out on that in the coming days for sure. But this was a very serviceable opener, and Tony Nese defeated Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight title in one of the hidden secrets of WrestleMania weekend. 205 Live always delivers this weekend. It's one of the fun things to watch. Women's Battle Royal, which soon could be renamed the China Battle Royal. Carmella getting the win by last eliminating Sarah Logan, when everybody thought that Carmella had been dumped on the outside, and that Sarah Logan from the Riot Squad was going to be the winner and the Riot Squad would have the trophy. But nope, Carmella dumped Sarah Logan over the top rope, and building more momentum again. It sounds like they're going to line up Carmella for a potential run at either this new unified women's title here, or perhaps give her a tag partner, and she would go after the tag team titles coming forward. So it seems like she's poised for a little bit of a push going into the summer here. Well, it remains to be seen how big of one she gets. Raw tag team titles were up next, where Hawkins and Ryder, the Major Brothers, reunite in 2019. They defeated the Revival, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, and it was more than a 24-hour title run, which is great because they showed up the next night on Raw, had a rematch, and retained the titles. So Curt Hawkins is on a winning streak now. You know, so you can take all those losses and put it on the side. He's got a winning streak going. Again, another very serviceable match for the pre-show. Just this card had a lot of matches. And the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal went to, surprise, surprise, Braun Strowman. The storyline with Colin Jost and the other guy from SNL, can't remember his name, Michael Shea, I believe. Very entertaining, but it added to what was already a foregone conclusion. Once Strowman had announced, everybody was like, well, yeah, Strowman will probably win the Andre Battle Royal. And so Strowman has won the Andre Battle Royal. Didn't see him on Raw, but we saw him on SmackDown on Tuesday kind of come out and ahead of the Superstar Shakeup and say, hey, I'm a monster. I can show up when and where and wherever I want to. So Superstar Shakeup coming up next week. Maybe a teaser Strowman to SmackDown. We'll have to wait and see. In the opening match of the pay-per-view, and I love this, the Universal title. Yes, the match that in past years has been the main event of WrestleMania is now the opening bout on the card. Seth Rollins defeating Brock Lesnar. Man, what an amazing match. It was such a jaw-dropping opener after Alexa Bliss and Hulk Hogan were doing the whole WrestleMania welcome and grandstanding and hot dogging thing on stage. Heyman walks down and says, listen, if we're not main eventing this thing, we want to get this thing over with. We're opening it up right now. Let's do it. Here comes Brock Lesnar, the champ. Comes down, calls out Seth Rollins. Rollins runs down. And Rollins kind of got ragdolled a bit in this match, but that's the whole storyline with Brock. Brock has great matches with smaller guys, and this was one of them for sure. I think the two that he's had this year with Balor at the Rumble and this one with Rollins kind of showed that the perfect recipe for Lesnar is put him in the ring with a smaller, more athletic wrestling guy, and it could be good. So, Seth Rollins, the new Universal Champion. We've got a full-time Universal Champion. Remains to be seen on what brand. Probably stays on Raw, but we'll see what happens. AJ Styles defeated Randy Orton. This one, your typical Orton match where it was kind of a slower pace and that's of Styles. This would be a good TV main event match, and it is what it was. Second match in on the main card of WrestleMania. I don't mind that. That was alright. SmackDown Tag Team titles in a Fatal 4-Way was up next. And this is the 7th match, by the way, on the card. So we're almost at halfway here. The next one will make it exactly halfway on the card. But the Usos defeated and retained their Tag Team titles against Aleister Black and Ricochet, Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura, and The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus. Kudos to Aleister Black and Ricochet. They wrestled on every major card WWE put on this weekend. They were on NXT TakeOver, going for the NXT tag titles. WrestleMania, going for SmackDown tag titles. They had a match on Monday Night Raw, and then they had a match on SmackDown, a 6-man tag, where they tagged with Ali versus a lot of the same people in this match, Rusev and Nakamura for sure. And this was a big weekend for them. I think they're going to be sought after. Maybe they split at the Superstar Shakeup. Maybe that's it for the Black Ricochet tag team, with one going to Raw and the other going to SmackDown. But I think that if they want to keep them together as a tag team, the future's pretty bright because they're one of the more athletic tag teams that WWE has put together. So I would not mind to see a main roster tag title run with Black and Ricochet in the future. Have to wait and see. The 8th match, so we're exactly halfway now, a Falls Count Anywhere match between Shane McMahon and The Miz. This thing is kind of an outside pick for my matches of the weekend. I know a lot of people have it on their top 5. It was definitely the best match on the WrestleMania card, just due to the fact of the uncontrollability of it, the storytelling. Everybody loves a good Falls Count Anywhere match, or Everywhere match, I guess it should be, and this thing was awesome. So, and of course the big high spot at the end with The Miz suplexing Shane McMahon and McMahon just landing on top of him from the top of the camera stand. Very hardcore. It's the Shane McMahon jumps off of something very high stunt that we get at least once per year, and it was at WrestleMania. There you go. Anything and everything you love about WrestleMania right there, and you love about Shane McMahon. One of the big surprises of the weekend was up next with the women's tag titles changing hands. A lot of people didn't see that happening, and a lot of people didn't see that in their prediction threads and that stuff. But we have brand new women's tag champions with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, which is the Iconics from SmackDown Live currently, walking out with the tag titles, defeating the Boss and Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks, Nia Jax and Tamina, and Beth Phoenix and Natalya. While Beth Phoenix and Natalya coming out was a good nostalgia pop for longtime fans, they ultimately didn't really do much in this match. It was more along the lines of the Iconics and the former champions Bayley and Sasha Banks going one-on-one. In recent days, the reports have come out that Sasha is unhappy with her position in the company after WrestleMania, after losing the tag belts, after being promised kind of a long run to establish it. Plans change, stuff happens, so it'll be interesting to see if her plans change and she decides to explore free agency, especially now with the new startup AEW now starting and other options for women's wrestling happening. She is a marketable name, and she can definitely fit in the top upper card of wherever she goes, including WWE if she chooses to stay there. So right now, it's interesting to see what's going forward. But Iconics is women's tag champions. Great fit. Remains to be seen if they're going to be faces or heels. I think the tide is turning a little bit. They might not be heels going forward. I think it's going to be more of a face run for them, just due to the fact that their zany antics and that stuff are finally starting to get over with the crowd a little bit, especially this weekend. So our first Cinderella story wrapped up as well at WrestleMania. This was match 10 on the card. Kofi Kingston with the New Day defeating Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. And again, more than a 24-hour title reign. It seems like they're going to stick with him as a champion for a while, so that's good. It was a great match. There are reports that Bryan got injured in the match somehow, and hopefully those reports are, not as serious as it's making it stand. But if that's the case, then that would explain why Bryan wasn't on SmackDown on Tuesday. Maybe we might see him at the Superstar Shakeup or something, but for right now, I think Kofi as the WWE Champion opens up a lot. Especially on SmackDown. Do we get a New Day implosion coming up? Do we get a we saw the quote-unquote New Day split on SmackDown on Tuesday. Big E was a deep split. And that was the thing. But man, what a great match. It was an awesome story. Great to see it end, and Kofi's kids are awesome. Match 11 on WrestleMania. Samoa Joe, the U.S. champion, defeated Rey Mysterio. Squash match. Not a lot to talk about here. What she expected to happen, happened. We have now reached match 12 of the WrestleMania card, and Roman Reigns coming back from leukemia, making the big WrestleMania return, defeating Drew McIntyre. And this, again, was another great match that could probably main event any Monday Night Raw in the country. The problem is with WrestleMania, you kind of expect a little bit more. And also, at that point in the night, we're kind of reaching the normal pay-per-view spot, or pay-per-view, main event spot with the crowd. And so this was kind of the peak. Well, Kofi winning was kind of the peak of the night. And now the ebb and flow of the crowd kind of went a little bit just because of the length of the card. It was a long card. It was a long, long day of watching matches and that stuff. And, it's one of those things where you had to definitely hydrate yourself properly before going to watch the card and that stuff. Otherwise, you would feel the after effects. Trust me, it sucks. But... Reigns defeating Drew. Drew's just got beat by Roman, and then on Tuesday night came out as a mystery partner with the Bar in a 6-man tag against the New Day, but decided to leave the scene halfway through. Everybody was concerned about Drew getting hurt. That wasn't the case. It was WWE just writing it into storyline and, just kind of protecting Drew because they want to use him in the upper echelon now as kind of a main event heel going forward. Maybe this is a guy that they pair with Kofi on SmackDown at the next pay-per-view at Money in the Bank, or going forward for more and more title shots throughout the spring and the summer. Either way, that'll be very exciting to see what happens off of that. Match number 13 of the card. That's right, we got 4 more left to talk about here. Triple H defeated Batista. This was what ended up being Batista's last match in WWE, as he announced on Instagram the night after that, or the day after, I should say, that he was done. That was it. I think that was a not a horribly kept secret, but I think it was more common knowledge going into the card there that this was probably going to be either last match for one or the other, if not both of them. Batista making tons of money in Hollywood, doing tons of movies and that stuff, and so for the time being, I don't think there's really a need for him to come back and work a WrestleMania once a year. I think he got what he wanted, what he really, really wanted, which was a match with Triple H. Actually, this was very entertaining, very cringeworthy at spots and that stuff. It was brutal, a little bit more brutal than the street fight too. So hey, it was a very extreme rules type situation between the two of them. It's fairly enjoyable. Again, the crowd was kind of wavering throughout it, just due to the length of the card, but I think they were pretty much with it for the majority of this. So kudos to both guys for putting on one heck of a match, especially in the position that they were put in the card. And the story moves on with Triple H. We'll see him again somewhere down the line, surprisingly here too, I should say. Next match was Kurt Angle's farewell match. He took on Baron Corbin and did the favors with Corbin getting the win. Everything you'd want to see in that match happened, where Angle looked good, came out as the conquering hero anyway at the end, and then the next night on Raw got kind of the last laugh on Corbin by throwing an Angle slam his way and that stuff, and then that proved to pave the way of the return of Lars Sullivan to WWE. Sullivan showed up on Raw and attacked Kurt Angle. He also showed up on SmackDown as well. So he's definitely going to be one of these sought-after guys on either Raw and SmackDown next week during the Superstar Shakeup as a factor for sure. The question remains, though, well, he attacked the Hardy Boys on SmackDown after the Hardys won the SmackDown Tag Championships from the Usos on Tuesday. Which brand he ends up with, why is he attacking Legends, and is this a potential build for him and John Cena, which has been rumored for some time, perhaps at SummerSlam. Let's see what happens. The Intercontinental title was in the semifinal spot on the card, the second to last match, match number 15 if you're keeping track at home. The Demon Finn Balor defeated Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental title. That was a awesome entrance. The match kind of was more controlled squash, I would put it. Lashley really didn't get out of the box, but Balor is your new Intercontinental Champion, and of course that can raise the question, did Balor win it or did the Demon win it for Balor, which is going to be a awesome storyline going forward. And then, of course, the main event, the man comes around, where Becky Lynch defeated Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair to become the winner-takes-all Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion. There's talk of unifying the belts and having the women jump between both shows. I guess we'll find out more about that next week or in the weeks to come. If that's the case, then it will be the most sought-after title in women's wrestling across the board. It's a very interesting idea to have the women kind of jump brands, but it also works as well in the fall because Fox wants more athletic wrestlers and talent on their show, whereas Raw will kind of stay along the lines of kind of your more traditional WWE show on USA. So I think this card here really sets up the spring and the summer very interestingly to keep watching, especially going into the fall, to see what happens. And with WrestleMania being in Tampa next year, this is a very interesting period for WWE for sure. I think with the amount of new young talent coming in, the old guard is kind of starting to fade away here, and some of the older legendary athletes that they have brought in are reaffiliated with the company, but they're kind of in non authoritative roles, or they're just kind of hands off now at this point of the product. So as far as the entire experience goes, from top to bottom, production, the length of the show, whatever, I will give WrestleMania 35 an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a very satisfactory night, with the best matches, of course, being Shane and Miz, and closely behind that would be Triple H and Batista, in my opinion. Awesome high spots during the night were, of course, Iconics winning the tag titles, Becky Lynch winning the Raw Women's title. Heck, I even like seeing Reigns defeat McIntyre. That was good. That was a lot of fun for me too. And just even in the pre-show, the Cruiserweight title match was good. Of course, not as good as we would see on Tuesday night on 205 Live. Which ended up being, for me, one of the best matches of the weekend. Again, video coming soon. And just top to bottom, a very solid WrestleMania weekend. Would I do it again? Yeah, probably. knowing what I know now about how to get around the city and that stuff, I think it would be a little bit more easier. The unfortunate thing is, if you promise to meet somebody an hour from now, you better give yourself 2 hours in New York City, because transportation kind of snafus and snags and that stuff are for real. It's a thing. So anyways, I'm Cal Nitro. Later days, happy wrestling watching. Thanks again for your patience as I tried to wrestle this across, and if you stayed around for the entire thing, I do appreciate that for sure. You can follow me online at Cal Nitro on Twitter. Tweet your likes and dislikes about WrestleMania 35, and I will have videos coming up about the travel package and my experiences in NYC and that stuff in the coming days on this channel, so stay tuned. If you got a question about any of that, please post it below, or hit me up on Twitter at Cal Nitro, and I will definitely have the time to answer it. Maybe in a video too. We'll see. Later days, guys. Happy wrestling watching. And get some rest. That's another thing too. I've been sleeping like a baby the entire time since I got back. I'm still kind of right now. And unfortunately, I got to go work here at the night job. The real gig, the money-making gig here in about 3 hours time or so as I record this. So it should be all right, though. All right, later, guys.